Looking for amazing finds and incredible deals? Visit Erie City Mission Thrift today. From stylish clothes and shoes to quality furniture and home goods, you'll discover something new each time while changing lives right here in Erie. It's shopping that feels good and does good. Come see us in Erie and Girard. Erie City Mission Thrift. Thrift with a purpose.
All year round, Frontier Home Products and Design has what you need to make your home comfortable and beautiful. Relax on a new timber tech deck designed by Frontier's experts. A new fireplace from Frontier Home Products Fireplace Gallery adds warmth and serenity to any home. Beauty and versatility at Frontier Home Products and Design Center, 4213 Peachtree East 5th next to the Bayfront Highway.
Frontier Home Products and Design Center. Discover a new frontier.
PA contractor number PA 039007.
Welcome to TalkErie.com's Joel Natale Show, Erie, Pennsylvania's daily podcast. Every day, we tackle the biggest issues that the Erie, PA region faces. Stay informed and involved as we advance the narrative of Erie. Now, here's Joel Natale.
We are having the crucial conversations that Erie needs, and we're doing this in a breaking news fashion as last week a vote was held at Erie County Council to, as the County Council member Jim Wirtz described, to end the rider with Immigrations and Custom Enforcement to be able to put detainees in the Erie County Prison. And, 4-3 vote on council split the governing body up. Someone who has weighed in on this, giving really, in my opinion, a reasoned and different perspective, is Katie Kretz. She is the executive director for the Multicultural Resource Center here in Erie. Katie, welcome back. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate you creating some space for us here and having these conversations.
Well, this is what we're all about, and I think you are much more understanding of the situation that both refugees and perhaps even those that are undocumented are in. In regards to what is happening with this ICE rider of the agreement with the U.S. Marshals and the Erie County government here. So let's start with the beginning here. For many decades, my understanding is Erie County government has engaged with the U.S. Marshals to be a place where they can kind of park individuals that are under custody, right?
Yes, my understanding is this agreement has actually been in place for years prior to immigration really becoming a hot topic here in the United States. So for as much as I understand, this has been something that's just been an agreement with the Erie County Prison and Erie County government with the federal government for quite some time. And
I guess it's been, I don't know how many years, but there has been an ICE rider that has been part of that agreement where Immigration and Customs Enforcement and what was it, DNS back? I can't remember the letters.
Right, they all fall under that umbrella of the federal government.
They used to use the Marshals the Marshals agreement to park some of their detainees. Sure. And according to our conversation with Councilperson Wirtz, 2 years ago it might have been worth a couple 10,000. Maybe a year ago it was 20,000, and then last year it was $400 and some thousand dollars of income based on the number of detainees getting put through the prison there. Is that your understanding too?
That is. We had a community stakeholder meeting, and we can kind of go into more of why we came to the table and really brought things up. But based upon things that were changing on the ground level with the federal government and the community that we serve, again, I think I have to kind of walk us a couple steps backwards with what MCRC does.
Correct.
Because there's been a huge misunderstanding within the community as to who we actually serve as a community. And we are working with people who have come to the United States through legal pathways. We are not
legal
pathways.
Yes.
Legal pathways. So a majority of those folks, they have a status of refugee. They come into the United States given that status. So they are legally protected under immigration law within the United States. And that's a majority of the clients that we serve.
Okay, can I stop you
Sure,
there?
absolutely.
I want people to understand there's even a distinction, and it's a very important distinction between a refugee status and someone who is applying for asylum.
Absolutely. So those folks are called, that's an asylee. Somebody who is seeking asylum is an asylee. Again, that's another legal pathway to come here is seeking asylum. So we have a multitude of different types of individuals that we serve, but all are coming to the United States through those legal pathways. Okay. And I think that's kind of been the biggest misconception from all walks of life, people not really truly understanding what we do. As part of the services that we do provide immigration services. So we work hand in hand as an accredited agency with USCIS and actually file paperwork for these people. So we have our ear to the pavement on this. We have our finger on the pulse. This is what we do every single day. So we're in the thick of it, along with our counterparts. We have USCRI, who also provides some of these services, and Catholic Charities, counseling and adoption services. Right. We're all working with relatively the same population. So those are the people that we're in charge. We're trusted to serve and to protect, which is why we even came to the discussion with the vote with council, because things changed for us. Beginning in January, the federal government launched the Operation Paris, which is it's another acronym that we always throw around, but it's the Post-Admission Refugee Re-Verification and Integrity Strengthening process. And essentially what the federal government is doing is they're recognizing that there was a push to bring people in as refugees. They want to revet them. On the surface, it sounds logical, I guess. But the method to which they're doing the revetting is by detaining people. And so our argument has been, well, if we have our families detained, we would much rather have them closer here in Erie County to be able to keep an eye on them than transferred who knows
right,
where.
Right. All right. Let me understand what the status would be of someone who might come under this Operation Paris or this revetting process. Mm-hmm. Let's say you have an interpreter that worked an Afghani interpreter, right, worked with the military. They finally get their shot to come over here. They land in Erie. And what kind of paperwork do they have? They have a refugee paperwork, correct?
Well, that is actually a very specific example. And
that may be an outliner.
Well, no, but it's still cause for concern. So when we have specifically with the Afghan population, a lot of the interpreters did work hand in hand with our military. Right. A majority of those people actually came into the United States and were granted access into the United States through a special immigrant visa, and that's called an SIV. And so, but regardless of what status you're given, you still have an obligation after you've been here for a period of time to file for more permanent residency. And that's done through, the immigration system. And the person would actually file for their green card. And that's the sticking point with all of this, is that the federal government is essentially saying, if you are in this country as a refugee, and you have filed for your green card or haven't filed for your green card and you don't have your green card, you're subject to detention. And that's the piece where we are concerned, because we still have a very large refugee population in Erie County, those who aren't yet citizens. That number is about 5,000. And of that about 5,000, close to 1,200 of those individuals still don't have their green card. And
so 3,800 of the 5,000 refugees have some kind of permanent residency,
yes,
is what you're saying.
Yes.
There's the 1,200 that have the question mark.
Correct. And those are the folks, again, that we're worried about. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't speak up and say, hey, I'm not asking for a yes vote. I'm not asking for a no vote. I'm asking for us, hey, let's just pause this vote. Let's come back to the table, talk about the real world ramifications of the result of this vote, and what are we going to do as a community to protect these people? Because we've already made the promise that they're here legally.
Yes.
That was my promise to them. Right. When I had families come to me at the beginning of this new current administration, worried that they would be deported, my argument back to them and my kind of consoling them speech was, you're here legally. You've done everything that you need to do. You're okay. You don't have to worry. And now I can't say the same thing to these people because things have changed so rapidly on the immigration front with this federal government.
So what are you hearing from the trades, from your parent organizations or so on, your colleagues in the refugee business, if you will, about Operation Paris? Why was that brought up? Is there was a real feeling that refugees were not vetted properly before entering?
There was an argument at the federal level that there was such a push to bring in people during a period of time that the vetting process may not have been as stringent as it once was.
Okay.
When you talk to somebody who came in 5 years ago, they had gone through the vetting process and the waiting process, and it took them years to get here. We're talking 5, 10, 15 years. For anybody who came in during the previous administration, maybe their waiting time wasn't as long, and it's not for all populations. Mm-hmm. I still had people that I received under this last administration that had been waiting for 10 years or 15 years. And then I had others that hadn't had such a long waiting period. So, I mean, again, when I'm talking about kind of playing devil's advocate here and being Switzerland,
right?
I can kind of see the argument of having to re-vet people. However, there's a way to do it. And detaining people is not the way to do it.
Right. The how many people do you think that were making their voices heard at Erie County Council knew anything about Operation Paris?
I don't think many people knew it until I brought it up. I had written an op-ed.
Because I sure didn't.
No. And that's part of my argument back to county council is not a lot of people understand this. So we need to broaden the discussion and bring people to the table so that we can have a really good dialogue about this and see what we can do. I mean, are there other things that we can do as a community to protect these families? So
I'm just going to ask you point blank, did you have a conversation with any of the members of county council?
So when we convened, and when I say we, MCRC convened a stakeholder meeting following some discussions at the state level of what we had been seeing unfold across the nation. And what was happening across the nation is some states were seeing the detention of refugees. When our state refugee coordinator became aware of this, she brought us all together in the state of Pennsylvania, all refugee service providers, and said, hey, this is happening. We want you aware of it. And, we're charging you and tasking you with making sure that you're doing what you need to do in your community to protect your clients. And so as part of that conversation, MCRC brought together stakeholders from our community, which meant other refugee providers, the city, the county, immigration lawyers, and we had a very large discussion, healthcare providers, and we talked about, what this could look like. And one of the topics of conversation that came up in that meeting, and which is why I love meeting with people that are smarter than me, is because we learn things, right? Mm. And so we had learned in that meeting that there was discussion at the county level to terminate ICE from the federal contract. Right. And a local immigration attorney said, hey, just want to throw this out. It's been very convenient for us to be able to have access to people in the Erie County Prison. It allows us to get to them quickly. We've been able to file paperwork to keep them here. From a legal perspective, there are things that you can file, like habeas corpus petitions, to keep people here, to be able to have their case heard on this side of the state. So there were a lot of really interesting things that came of that meeting. So after that, and when we found out that county was going to be bringing this resolution for the first reading, I had written my op-ed, my first op-ed, and I emailed it to every single council person. And I copied the county executive and her director of administration on that email, hoping for some further dialogue. And I had received only one communication back that that there would be time to talk. This was just the first reading of it. We'll have time, plenty of time to have discussion surrounding this. We hear you. And that was just one representative and nothing from anybody else.
Wow.
Yeah. So after the op-ed was published, then I went to the county council meeting and I spoke publicly about it.
Citizens to be heard, basically?
Yes.
So no interaction.
Correct.
You're just making your speech.
Correct. And so that was very difficult because I was the only one in the room that spoke up as the minority of not,
of even asking for a pause.
Right, of even asking for a pause. I was the only one in the room. So it was a very emotionally charged room. I had actually contemplated not making public comment because of all of everything that I had heard in front of me, because I can see both sides of it. Right. But again, as I said in the things that I have published, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't speak.
What was the response in that room, in that crowd?
It was actually respectful.
Okay, good.
It was. You
weren't booed?
I thought I was going to get booed. I thought I was going to be followed out to my car. But no, people were very respectful. And I was grateful for that. Yeah. I was grateful that people could at least see that I'm not the enemy, but I do have to speak up.
You weren't done yet in front of council, though. You did an op-ed piece. You appeared in front of council. What came next?
So following my my public comment to county council, I really reflected upon kind of what that meant for me just as a leader. I mean, it took a lot of vulnerability on my part to really stand up and make the comment that I made. But it was so important. Again, I have a responsibility to the community that I serve, and I wouldn't have been doing them justice had I not done my job.
And to be fair, if people missed a little bit of this, you had convened all of the people that are in the immigration space in Erie, and they had an informed conversation with attorneys and other care management people, and this. The idea of losing contact with detainees was a big problem.
It was a huge concern because we understand what other states are facing when refugees are detained, and they're taken to these large ICE facilities. And we learned that no other county in this area even has a contract with the federal government. So, the chances of our clients being detained and being taken out of, not just out of county, but like on the other side of the state or to another state, has grown exponentially, with the potential vote of terminating the ICE rider from this contract.
Okay. So you made a video.
I did. So following my comment, and just kind of how I was feeling, I felt as though maybe a video would resonate with people a little bit more, so that they could see like how sincere I am about this. Like I'm fearful for our families. When I sat there in front of these families and I told them that they were safe, my word meant something then. And I'm sorry if I get emotional, but what now?
Right.
What now? So I made that video, and I shared it. I shared it on social media, but I also emailed it to council. I said, hey, just so you know, here's some more. Here's some more information you should consider. And again, nothing back from council. So I wrote another op-ed. I followed up with another op-ed. And let me preface all of this by saying, because it was a question, Joel, you had for me before we met, I had my board's blessing before I did any of this, because they understand my responsibility to the community that we're serving. And I have to speak up.
You weren't some Lone Ranger free agent on this thing.
I wasn't a rogue executive director speaking out of context and out of turn. This is my job. I was hired to protect these people, and I take my job seriously. It's about the humanitarian component of what I do every single day, and my team. It's not just me. It's my entire team at MCRC that I love, and they do a fantastic job. But I wrote that other op-ed, and again, I sent it back to county council. I'm like, we gotta pause. And the only communication I got a phone call from one council person. We engaged in a little bit of dialogue, and I was appreciative of that. But the only other communication I got was from the original council person who had emailed me and basically said we had a fundamental disagreement, and that they would be voting in favor of the termination. So my frustration is that no space was given for us to be able to have any conversations about this. Again, I wasn't asking for them to vote to keep the contract,
right?
But there wouldn't have been any issue if we would at least have created the space to come up with a plan as to what we're going to do to protect our families in the event of detention of people who are here through legal pathways. That's all I want. I want us to come up with a plan. Let's engage in a plan.
Did you ever, and I've got like less than a minute, but did you ever get the feeling that this move to eliminate the ICE rider was part of a larger national movement to eliminate all the local?
Sure. That's
what's going on, right?
Erie County wants to be on the right side of history, and I get it. I understand it.
Because this is also happening in Clearfield County.
Sure.
And basically, what is that? I mean, for individual immigrant families that have detainees, what is this going to mean?
Well, it's going to mean that they're not going to be local anymore. And a defense to that, I understand that there is a limited time period which people are held in the Erie County Prison. I understand that. The average time is 9.5 days.
Okay.
But those first few days are so crucial, and I'll keep saying it over and over again. Legal refugees, they came through legal pathways. They shouldn't be detained, but they are being detained.
From baggage claim to pajamas in 10 minutes. Erie International Airport. Fly with ERI.com.
Fly Erie International Airport to Charlotte on American Airlines, your nonstop gateway to the world. Also, we have Breeze Airways flying nonstop to Orlando and Tampa, Florida. A great low-cost carrier providing excellent service to the regional community. Fly Erie International for your travel needs.
Fly with ERI.com.
Get paid to drive. Start a new career behind the wheel at the EMTA. If you are looking for a high-paying and rewarding career with full benefits and paid training, stop by or apply online today with the EMTA. Plus, EMTA riders can now enjoy free Wi-Fi on new, clean, and environmentally friendly buses to travel all over Erie County. Visit ridethee.com for more information.
Get on board EMTA. Get on board EMTA. Get on board.
At Quickfill, what matters most is that our customers, our communities, and our heroes are taken care of. We start by providing American-made gasoline, which means you can buy local, keeping America and your communities strong. We also support vital charities every year and hold Operation Give Thanks each November to help provide a better future for our veterans and their families. We're proud to support the communities we live and work in, and we're doing our best every day to make our towns a better place. Quickfill, driving America.
Katie Kretz is with us. She's the executive director of the Multicultural Resource Center, and kind of chronicling Katie's basically her battle to have some space and some conversations with the powers that be at Erie County Council before the vote last week that 4-3 it basically was a resolution to have the county executive rescind the ICE rider, the Immigration's Custom Enforcement rider, with their contract with the U.S. Marshals. That's the original contract here. All right, so let's do some other sideism, if you will.
Sure.
So,
Let's do that, Joel.
I mean, yes, the videos and the conduct of some ICE agents have been horrible to look at.
Absolutely.
That the conduct is it leaves a lot of questions, protests, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, again, I'm going to be pro law enforcement all day long, but
Right.
you need to train your individuals, and if they're
Absolutely.
untrained,
Yeah.
so on. That seems to be one of the things that is fueling every kind of opposition to
Right,
ICE. It's
right.
just the conduct.
And understandably so. I mean,
Yeah.
whatever we see on television is what we believe and what we know to be happening. And it's unbecoming to law enforcement with some of the detentions that have
Right.
taken place. I'm not speaking, putting a blanket statement over that. I am also very much pro law enforcement. But when we're talking about the way that some people have been treated and detained has just been. It's been terrible.
Now, there is also this opinion that nobody should be detained, and that's where when you have a situation where you're trying to get illegal aliens off the streets.
Sure.
That again, this all gets mashed up
It does.
into one giant ball, and it's not that simple.
It's not, and that's really why we haven't been part of these discussions publicly, because while from an ethical perspective, I personally have my thoughts about what you just described, from a business perspective, a nonprofit perspective, we focus on what we're responsible for. What we're responsible for are the people in our care. The people in our care are here legally. And up until Operation Paris, we didn't have to worry about them being detained by ICE. So we weren't even part of the discussion. And so that's why, again, we keep coming back to this. That's why when I hear through the grapevine that council people are frustrated with me because I didn't come to the discussion sooner, I had no reason to be part of the discussion. Prior to Operation Paris, which didn't unfold until January of this year.
2026.
Yeah, 2026. I mean, we're talking less than 30 days.
Mm-hmm.
I had no reason to be part of the discussion because it wasn't from a business perspective, from
Right.
a leadership perspective, it didn't affect the people that we were serving. So that's why we didn't come to the table until just now.
It's so interesting. And again, maybe this is a tiny little rabbit trail, but you can help me understand. When I talked to former Mayor Joe Schember, do we have an illegal immigration problem in Erie? He said no. In fact, he was, I am not for illegal immigration. I'm for legal immigration. Sure. And it never seemed like, you didn't hear about a whole lot of, ICE activity around town. Is that me just being naive or what? As far as on the illegal side.
I don't know that I'm really even qualified to have that conversation. Again, we don't, that's not our population. So, when people try to pull me in discussions, and I'm not saying you, but even through social media, people are like, well, you can't say that there's not illegals. Well, I'm sure there are, but I'm not aware of them because that's not who we're serving, and when people say, oh, well, you guys are busing people in. No, we're not. That's not what we're doing. Like there was a very defined process.
Yes. Many of these folks lived in refugee camps overseas, like you say, 5, 10, 15 years.
Absolutely. Yes.
And then they get their break in, they get their green light, if you will.
Right.
They come over. They have to have a sponsor, somebody connection here. They have to. They work through an agency like yours, refugee resettlement.
And that's the other piece too. Is a lot of people are saying, well, these people have to have sponsors, not through the refugee resettlement program.
Okay,
that's not how it works. The federal government is basically saying, hey, we're going to help you set up your life. Not with a lot of help.
Right.
When people come here, they've been vetted, they've been given refugee status, they've been given an airline ticket to get here. They have to pay back that airline ticket, whether it's one person or a family of 10. They have to pay all that back. It's through a grant through the federal government. It's through the IOM, and they have to start paying that back after they've been here for a period of time.
Yeah.
So what refugees get is just a one-time stipend. That stipend used to be $1,300. It's now up to $2,000, but it's one-time stipend.
Yeah.
So if you're a single person coming in, you're given your plane ticket over that you have to pay back at some point, but you're given $2,000 to find an apartment, set your life up, and find a job. And that's where we come in. We come in to assist with that. But it's hard. I mean, we rely on the community a lot because the money that we've received to set up these families is very, very minimal. So we try to not use any of their money to set up their life, receive donations, but obviously, we have to help them pay for their housing. And as you know, housing's already an issue in Erie County.
Sky high,
right,
for sure.
Right.
All right, so let's get back to your story.
Sure.
So you wrote a second op-ed piece, and by the way, we want to kudos to Lisa Thompson and the editorial board over at the Times for giving you the space.
Yes,
for sure.
They've been wonderful. Yes,
and so you wrote the second piece, and the second reading is coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Did you go to the second meeting?
I did go to the second meeting.
Okay, what was the vibe there?
The vibe there, it was interesting. So before I even got there, I was really struggling with what I even wanted to say in my public comment. And I think that county council at that point had kind of heard enough from me. I gave them as much information as I had available, but some of the arguments were, MCRC and USCRI are wanting the pause, but they're not saying how long they want the pause for. Well, I don't know how long I need the pause for until we figure it out. And then, the other argument was, well, they haven't provided us with any data. Well, I don't have any data because this is happening now. It's happening on the ground level. I can't give you data that I don't have.
What kind of data would be necessary?
I think they're probably wondering, well, how many families are affected? I was able to obtain that. But even just, what the cost is going to be, how many people have already been detained? Well, again, that's nothing I can give you right now because it's happening right now. It's happening in Pittsburgh right now, and it's only a matter of time before it starts happening in Erie. But I was pleasantly surprised at the meeting in the sense that there were more people that came forward just saying, hey, maybe this isn't a bad idea let's hold this vote and let's continue the dialogue. So there was a good number of people who stepped up and said that. I struggled with what I wanted to say because I wasn't sure if I just kept, hitting home that we need a pause. So I decided just to make it known that I wasn't given the space.
Yeah.
We weren't. And when I say the whole collective refugee community wasn't really given the space. Refugees who did speak up were people that really weren't going to be affected by this. Mm-hmm. If you're a refugee and you've been in the United States for 20 years, technically, from a legal status, you're not a refugee anymore, right? I'm talking about people who still are in that status adjustment period where they are in as a refugee, have made application for the green card, but because of the backlog in the system, they haven't received their green card. Those are the people that are subject to detention. We need to be talking to those people and saying, hey, how would you feel if you were detained? Would you rather be here in Erie County, close to the people that you know, close to the agency that has helped you? Or would you rather be shipped off across the state and nobody has any idea where you've been taken? That's the argument. That's the only argument.
Yeah.
Because detention's not going to stop with the cancellation of the ICE rider.
Yeah, I'm trying to understand who this vote hurts, or this is my editorial comment, or is this just virtue signaling on the part of Erie County Council?
That's a really great question.
Because it sounds like it hurts refugees that are detained vis-a-vis. Basically, it's saying, well, Erie County we will not be an associate with ICE. Okay. Okay. Great.
Right.
Now what?
So it does have the potential to hurt our refugee community. Now, I don't know if the detention that's happening in Pittsburgh, if it's going to come up to Erie, but I would be remiss if I didn't plan for it.
Clarify that. What are you referring to?
So when we convened at the state level and we were having discussion about what was happening across the nation with the refugee population and Operation Paris, and we found out that refugees were being detained by ICE agents, there was discussion that was brought to light that the ICE detention of refugees was happening currently in Pittsburgh. And my fear is Pittsburgh's not that far from Erie.
No.
If this is going to continue at the national level, the chances of ICE coming to Erie and starting to detain refugees and people who are here through legal pathways, there's a high probability of this happening. And so we have to plan accordingly. I'm a planner. I want to plan. I want to have safeguards in place.
No Operation Paris efforts have, according to your knowledge, have happened in Erie?
Correct. Not yet.
Okay, not yet.
Right.
And I guess we're talking about something totally different where last year we were having students detained
right.
if they had moving violations.
Right. And all
on
of that.
Student visas. That has nothing to do with you.
No, that has nothing to do with me. Yeah. And the data that was collected last year, about 600 people being in detention in the Erie County Prison, none of them were here legally. Those people that were detained. Again,
None of them were legal.
Correct. From what I understand, those were people who were not here legally.
Okay.
So that 600 number doesn't have anything to do with the population I'm talking about.
Right.
And so that's why I felt like we needed to create more space, because this is a completely different scenario than what we were seeing last year.
Did you hear anything from the three council members that voted no on this resolution? I'm assuming it's Bale, Showerman, and Widnarski.
I received a phone call initially before the vote from Ellen.
Okay.
And she just, talked to me from her perspective as a nurse, and understanding that when someone's in crisis, having their support system in place is super important. So from a social services perspective, she understood. But that was the only dialogue prior to the vote that occurred. I did reach out to Councilman Widnarski, just thanking him for his motion to table the vote that was turned down at the meeting.
Okay.
So there was an attempt,
right.
and I acknowledged that. But again, it didn't lead anywhere.
I don't want to put you on the spot.
Sure.
But what what were some of the emotional? I'm assuming there were emotional arguments. I heard something that came out of Mr. Wirt's mouth that really alarmed me. Is that he made the claim that ICE was hiring white supremacists for their force, and that really elevated rhetoric, it seems to me, played a role in this vote.
I believe that a lot of the national attention around ICE has played to the emotional piece that I think was the vocal majority. Mm-hmm. Like I said, I understand from a moral standpoint where people are upset. I get that. But I'm not here in a personal capacity. I'm here in a professional capacity. I'm here doing my job, making sure that I'm the voice for the people who could potentially be affected by this vote. But I heard it. And again, when I said I wasn't even sure if I wanted to speak up at the first meeting, it was so emotionally charged with people just claiming that they want ICE out. That was kind of the theme of that first reading of the resolution, was people just want ICE out.
Yeah,
but,
very, very, very simplistic answer to a complex problem.
Right. Not understanding that just because we don't have this rider doesn't mean that it's going to stop detention.
Not at all.
That it's not going to stop detention. And I have to,
I mean, again, personal comment. What this vote does is just add more trauma to an already traumatic experience.
Absolutely.
For that legal immigrant that is currently being detained while they're being revetted.
Yes.
All right. Quickly, with Katie Kretz here, you want to weigh in on Governor Shapiro's fight against the two big warehouses that supposedly immigration is trying to build in Pennsylvania?
Yeah, I think again, it's coming from a place of logic in the sense that his argument is that the infrastructure can't really handle these big warehouse facilities, especially if they're going to be detaining the number of people that they're looking to detain.
Thousands.
Thousands. I mean, he's talking close to 10,000 people. But even on that, with the knowing that there are a number of ICE detention facilities across the state, knowing the conditions that our clients could potentially get into only fuels my argument of we got to keep them close. If we can keep them close, we can file paperwork and have their case heard on this side of the state, then we can hopefully be able to protect them. I had people call me naive that you really think you're going to have any, any cooperation from ICE at the Erie County Prison. Well, ICE isn't caring for the individuals in the Erie County Prison. Erie County prisoner, guards are.
Yeah.
We have
the warden.
We have relationships built in the county, especially with our new county executive, where conversations to improving conditions in the prison are already underway. So I don't think I'm naive in thinking that we would have some type of voice there. But again, I'm going to continue to advocate for what's right for our clients. And hopefully somebody will hear me.
One last question then.
Sure.
Good segue. The resolution is at the desk of the county executive.
It is.
She has the prerogative of vetoing this.
Mm-hmm.
Would you advocate a veto by the county executive?
I would advocate for a veto to pause the decision until we can have further discussions, which is all I was asking for from the beginning. I don't know that it will happen because of the political ramifications that a veto might ensue. But, in the absence of a veto, we need to continue these discussions. And I'm going to implore our community to really hold people accountable in having these discussions, because we brought these people into the United States by the United States. We promised them safety, and we have to uphold that promise to them.
We'll leave it there. Katie Kretz, I appreciate you coming in.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate all you do for these crucial conversations.
You've been listening to The Joel Natale Show, Erie, Pennsylvania's daily podcast from TalkErie.com. Subscribe to our show on your favorite podcatcher and get involved by emailing Joel@TalkErie.com.